Good evening, everybody. Welcome back to the Same Old Arsenal podcast. Well, I say good evening. It's absolutely freezing here in London, and I'm sure around the world it's not, but it is. I don't know what it's like where you two are, but it's like -3, and I'm not even exaggerating. So, to warm up the cockles of our heart, I have brought on two good friends of mine. First of all, to the left of me, right at me, wherever it looks like, is Danny the GFB from Burkamp Wonderland.
-3 degrees out at the front, -1.0 degrees out the back, and 21.1 degrees in my sitting room. I've got all the heating on because I don't care.
We won't be able to afford to pay for it, but we've got the heating on anyway.
Just get your bill to about 15 grand, then go bankrupt, and then they don't get their money, and you start all over again. There you go. It's a bit of financial advice you won't hear from Martin Lewis.
Financial advice by the GFP.
Yeah.
Young man, Melvin, how are you, darling?
I'm good. I'm warm as well. Yeah, I think I might close the window in a minute. No, I've got that closed. Don't worry.
It is bitter at the moment, and apparently my dad says it's going on for a week. Absolutely lovely. Honestly, what more can they throw at us? Anyway, to everybody in the chat room, welcome. As I'm going to ask the guys questions, please answer as well. I forgot to mention that last week. So this is episode 3 of What Arsenal Means to Me. Because as much as the World Cup is watchable and everything's interesting and it's now coming up to the quarterfinals, we're still missing the Arsenal. I knew it was going to happen. And then today we played Lyon. I'm hoping I've got this right. We won 3-0. Is that
Correct.
right?
Yeah.
There was a bit madness with penalties. I haven't seen them yet, but I've heard all about them.
Worst ever.
Worst ever, I've heard.
Yep.
And then you get points and everything, and I just can't. And I'm actually a little bit annoyed with Arsenal for charging people to watch it. I actually think it's an absolute bloody liberty. And I very rarely...
It's an outrage.
It is. It's an outrage. It's absolutely. I went to click in to have a quick look, and they wanted to charge me. Click right out. Don't they think they get enough of our money? Anyway,
that's another pod, isn't it? That one.
Just a little bit of housekeeping. Hello to everybody in the chat room. Welcome back to the Same Old Arsenal podcast. What Arsenal Means to Me, episode 3. So the first one I had Jordan Jarrett Bryan on, brilliant. Second one I had Stuart the photographer on, brilliant. Third one, these two likely lads. No pressure, boys, no pressure.
It's all gone wrong.
Right, let's get going. Okay, so basically, I just wanted to do some shows, and the next, I don't know what that was, but anyway, and the next the next few shows I'm doing are all about just getting different guests on. Next week, I've got the boys from the AST coming on, which will be interesting. My mate Axe and Tim Payton are coming on. And then we've got Dave Hillier coming on. And actually, Sunday night, I've got Tom Canton from the Gooner Talk coming on.
Never heard of him. Double award winner.
Oh, double award winner. So there's lots of different things. And the last show I'm ending with is my dad and my cousin. So, just wanted to do a little bit of Arsenal. So I want to know, both of you, I'm going to start with you, Danny, because you're a little bit younger than Melvin, and we'll go to Melvin.
Just a smidge.
Just a smidgen. Dan, why Arsenal, and what do they mean to you?
It goes back to when I was when I went to primary school in England. So that would have been year 1. So I'd have been about 6. So that would have been the summer or September 1976, I think. And I needed a PE kit, and my mum went down to Sports and Fashions in Huntingdon and had a look at all the PE kits they had there. And they had Liverpool and Man United. And she said there was a white one, which is either Spurs or Leeds, probably Leeds. But then again, Huntingdon is a London overflow area because that's where we moved up from. And then she saw an Arsenal one, and then she went, to be sure, potato, potato. I recognised Arsenal. There's some Irish players at Arsenal. And she remembers Pat Jennings and Pat Rice and Frank Staple. I mean, she didn't know any of these names, but she associated Arsenal with the Irish. And so she went, I'll have that. So she stole me a PE kit. It was an Arsenal. She didn't steal it. She probably paid very little, and I still had the bag. You got a those bags that you put all your stuff in when you're going for a shower, a toilet bag. I had a toilet bag, a red patent leather bag with the Arsenal crest on it, and a red. No, it wasn't an Arsenal kit; it's just red and white kit, and they bundled it all together. And I said, "Oh, Gav's there, quite cheeky," and. So
I thought I'd leave that up for you to see. So rude is our Gav. So rude.
I was quite a normal size until I was permanently sat down. And so, and I didn't really take any notice of that until probably the 1982, when I was 12, was when I started going, oh, what team do you support? Oh, I support Arsenal. A friend of mine supported Nottingham Forest, and he changed it to Oxford, which didn't really work out. And no one in my family likes football. None of them give a damn about it. None of my friends like football. I do now, a couple of them. But back then, football had zero influence on my life.
Wow. It's funny how different. See, I always think, because I'm, me, that it always comes from your parents. But there is a lot of people out there that parents don't like football. And, I mean, look at Ben White. No one in his family liked football, did they?
I am the podcasting Ben White. My dad was born in Chelsea because he left from the Channel Islands, and his mum come over and she was pregnant. She got ill, wasn't allowed to go back to Guernsey, so he was born there, and I was born in Putney. But no, my brother doesn't even like football. My mum, they're all Arsenal fans now, and my daughter's an Arsenal fan, and my daughter's mum, her family are Spurs, and I converted her to Arsenal. And quite a few of my friends who don't like football and will say they're Arsenal fans, because I've probably taken 40, 50 different people to the football over the years. So I've done my bit.
Wow. That's very interesting. I didn't know that, actually. Melvin, was it your parents, friends, or how did you get into it? And what year was it?
Right. An uncle of mine lived with us, with my parents and me and my younger brother. And when I was about 4 and 5, my father and my uncle used to go to the Arsenal, come back, and the first thing my mum would say, how did we go? I didn't even know we were playing, didn't know there was another team. And then after a while realised, and then they took me to my first game in 1962, was Arsenal-Aston Villa. We'll go on to that. But I had to, my uncle was a mad supporter. He was one of those that you could not say anything bad about the Arsenal. Even if you're an Arsenal supporter to him, he wouldn't have any criticism. He loved it. And the reason he loved Arsenal was, growing up, there was a guy called Dennis Compton who played football for Arsenal, played cricket for Arsenal. I think he captained England at cricket. He might have done that the same for Arsenal. He was what they used to call the Brill Cream boy. He was the guy that used to advertise Brill Cream on all the boards up on the high road and all that. He was, the man, the David Beckham of his time, if you like. And my uncle just idolised him as a footballer, as a personality, and he was, as I say, mad Arsenal. He lived with us. He lived with us for years and years, my uncle, and he used to take me everywhere. By the time I was about 6 or 7, he took me to every home game, and then a few years after that, he used to take me to away games, mostly London games. But if we played in the cup, he used to take me to the away games as well in the cup. So he really, though my father was Arsenal, my uncle was the real reason. He was the real reason I was an Arsenal supporter.
Wow. Okay, so first game memory, Melvin. When was it?
Well, first game memory, I half remember the first game I ever went to, believe it or not, but it was just a strange reason. I was home to Aston Villa, 1962-3 season. I must have been about 7, I suppose, 6, 7. And what happened was we got beat 5-4. I don't remember the game at all, but I know we got beat 5-4. And what I do remember is twice during the game, I was sitting on my father's lap and I said to my dad, I want to go to the toilet. Twice he took me to the toilet and twice Villa scored. And they blamed me for the defeat. They wouldn't take me for another year. And my mum said to him, you've got to take him again. You can't do that. So that was my first game.
Oh, bless.
And type of memory as well.
Yeah, 62. Danny, when was yours?
First game I went to was the 18th of October, 1987. Spurs 1, Arsenal 2. 1-0 down. I think Pat Vandenhouse scored, and then Michael Thomas and David Rocastle scored. And then I went, oh, I quite like this. It was a week after my 17th birthday.
Wow. Well, I'm like sort of much earlier than you, Dan, because mine was about 1973, because my dad took me when I was 4, apparently, and put me over the turnstiles.
That's what I used to do. That's it.
Yeah, and I sat on someone's lap.
Melvin, can I
Yeah.
ask Melvin a question? Did you say Arsenal lost 5-4?
Yes.
That was 61-62, the 31st of March,
That's
1962.
it, March. So 61-2, not 2-3. So yeah, 1-2. That was my first game I ever went to. Yeah.
And
beat 5-4.
Skirby
I'll
scored
never
2.
forget. They had a centre half playing John Sluenhawk. His name was. We didn't have a lot of obviously foreigners then, but I always remember that name.
It was English.
Not
it says
quite.
on here that he's English. That sounds Dutch.
English. Yeah.
Yeah, but Alan Skirby.
If he would have played about 10 years later, he would never have been booked, would he?
That's you're not going to spell that too quickly, are you?
Exactly.
But you saw Vic Groves play. Perry Groves' uncle. Very nice. Go on, Amanda. I'll shut up.
No, it's all right, Dan. We're just going right back. It's just brilliant to listen to, really. And it's interesting, you've got Extreme RKO saying my first game I was 3 in 1987. God, you make me feel old. And we lost to Norwich. You've got Nobby Clark saying first game away to Fulham 1968. Gunner 1-1-3. It's like we all have our memories, and I'm gutted because I don't know my first game, and my dad doesn't know my first game.
Oh,
you know any facts about it?
No.
You don't know anything?
No, and honestly, he still says the same thing. He says at 3 years old, I used to recite the double team. I mean, seriously, I do not believe him. But he says I did. I recited the double team.
I had to take my Sean to her first game when she was about 5 months old. So me and her mum went there, and I took my mum. And so we went in there before the game, and then Sean stayed. And then once the game kicked off, my mum took her back to the car, and they sat in the car because I had to baptise her in the world of Arsenal before those Spurs supporting scumbags on the other side of the family did anything about it. Because then she's done. You can't claim a soul once we've claimed it.
Can I just ask something, Amanda? This Jim has put
Jim Eves has put lost 5-4 in 1959. My dad
might know that. Was it 59? Because I thought my father told me, and my uncle, they went to Highbury when Man United beat them 5-4, and that was just before the Munich disaster. So that'd be in 58, though, wouldn't it? Jim, am I right or wrong?
Don't know. But Danny will be looking it up straight now because this is what Danny does.
What year did he put? He's put it is in 1959. 59. What do you think it is, Melvin?
I reckon it's 58.
Okay, I'll have a look. You carry on, Amanda. I'll put my hand up if I find it.
I can't believe you're actually arguing with one of my chat room viewers.
It was 1957-58, the 1st of February 1958, and they beat us 5-4. And the goal scorers were Bloomfield got 2 for us, and for them, Bobby Charlton, Duncan Edwards, Dennis Violet, and 2 for Tommy Taylor.
Wow.
Yeah, that was the last
you were right. You said you were right.
On British soil, I think.
Oh, it looks like Gav's first game was League Cup in 85.
I bet he didn't pay to get in.
No, probably didn't. But the thing is, right, that's like 15 years later, and Gavin looks much older than me. And I love the fact that I can say all this. He can't come back at me. He just comes back at me at 6 o'clock in the morning on Twitter when
He's
we're
had
awake.
A hard life, Gav has.
Yes. Right, both of you. All right, Danny, your favourite ever home game. It can only be one. I won't accept 2.
It was May at the end of the 97-98 season, and the first part of doing the double. And I got a photo of me, Sean's mum, Sean in her mum's belly because she was born 2 weeks later, and my mate Monkey Boy Matt. And yeah, so that's my favourite game, my favourite season, my favourite goal. I think probably my favourite Arsenal team, all combined into one magnificent game. And I remember, I don't know what I was doing yesterday, but I remember the whole of that day out, and the Ian Wright getting his bum out through the window after the game. Yeah. And there was Ruth Bett has done the drawing of that, incorporated it into one of her drawings. And I nearly got crushed because I'm sitting there in my chair. I'm right up against the curb, and everyone's looking at Ian Wright, and there's thousands of people there, and I'm getting squished. I'm getting chairs starting to go over like this, and so a group of about 4 or 5 blokes surrounded me and pushed everyone else backwards, so I wouldn't have got squashed. Otherwise, I'd have been tipped out, which wouldn't have been very good. But that was, my favourite goal. I mean, my favourite game, absolutely brilliant. I remember thinking at the time, I can't believe I'm at a game where Arsenal have won the league. And then we had the second part, Newcastle in the FA Cup final a few weeks later. And so 1998 was a magnificent year for me.
Okay. All right. I think it was a magnificent year for all us Gooners, wasn't it, Dan? Melvin, favourite ever home game?
Well, favourite ever game. That's a difficult one, but one I'm going to choose tonight was when the same season we beat Spurs at home 3-1. The heavens opened up. We went 1-0 up from a penalty right. It got brought down just in the area. They got a dodgy goal from a throw on. They never gave the ball back. And then Tony Adams got one about 2 minutes to go. Then a minute later, they had that righty on the right, murdered the left back. He beat him about 4 times, spun him, crossed it over, and Bergkamp did a beautiful, touched the ball, moved it inside and hit it across the goalkeeper. 3-1. And it was, I can just see the famous of Wenger going like this as the third goal winning. You had rain coming down. It was just, the atmosphere was phenomenal. It was dark. It wasn't an evening game, but it seemed like an evening game.
What game was this?
3-1 we won.
Oh, what year was it? Because I
think it's the first year of Wenger.
What, 96?
The year we won the double, it might be, or the first year of Wenger. The first time we played Spurs at home with Wenger as our manager.
The thing is, no, I can't. And the thing is,
the 2 goals. Adams, he got it on his chest and smashed it in. Someone pushed it back to him. He scored it from about 3 yards out, whacked it in, Adams, to make it 2-1. Then a minute later, Righty did something on the right, murdered the left back, crossed it, and Bergkamp murdered their right back and pushed it across the keeper.
They're saying 96, BX Gunneries.
Yeah, right. Fabulous game.
Was it at Arsenal or at Spurs?
At Highbury.
I can't think. The thing is, I was thinking this as you was talking, right? There's thousands and thousands of wonderful games that I've seen over the years. I can't remember hardly any of them. That's the thing. I mean, when you watch them again, yeah, of course. But if you're talking to me, I mean, obviously, so many different things stand out. You know, obviously you've got Anfield 89, all the FA Cups, the doubles, losing the Champions League final, the FA Cup at Hull and all that and everything. But there's so many other games. I think one of the worst games I ever saw at Highbury, I don't know I can't remember if it was 6-2 against United in the League Cup.
Oh, yeah, it was 6-2.
Mark Sharp, what was his
George
name?
Graham's day.
We literally sat there and I was like, that was at Highbury. What was the boy Sharp called for United?
Lee Sharp.
Lee Sharp. I remember him parading up and down the wing, and I'm going, "Oh my God, we're just getting hammered here." And you remember certain games, don't you? Obviously, we all know the 8-2 at Old Trafford, and just different. But there's hundreds and hundreds of wonderful games that we've watched. I mean, I was thinking the other day. Do you remember Shakhtar Donetsk when we were 2-0 down and we won 3-2? I think that's what happened. Just different memories, isn't it? I mean, we were lucky. We've been to Highbury. Not everybody's been to Highbury. That's for sure.
I found that game, Melvin. It was Arsenal 3, Spurs 1, 24th of November 1996. Ian Wright, 28th minute penalty. Adams 88, Bergkamp 90.
Yeah, there we are. There we are. As I thought, I could have had Amanda. There's so many great times I've had at Highbury. So many great memories. I could have chosen so many games. I mean, I went to the first time we won anything for years. I went to Anderlecht when we beat them in the second leg at Highbury. That raised the roof. That for me was because we never used to win anything when I first started watching the Arsenal.
Was that
Anderlecht? When was that?
That was 1970. Yeah.
Or was it the Bears Cup?
What year?
1969-70. So
I was like 6 months old. That's why I don't remember it. But I think my dad.
No, but it's like your dad would have been. Your dad.
Yeah. No, definitely. All right. So, Danny, your favourite first manager, basically?
Oh, George Graham all day long. Favourite manager, best manager, greatest manager. What that bloke did, he turned rubble into magnificent players. The way people think that Wenger is the greatest. Wenger had world-class players at the club. He had money to bring in the best players. George Graham had a handful of loose change. He had to work on players from the 4th division, Perry Groves, Ian Allinson from Colchester, and players like Steve Williams from Southampton was there, and players that weren't necessarily that you would look back at. If you had to have a list of all the players that played for Arsenal in George Graham's first 2 years, most Arsenal fans would go, don't know that, don't know that, don't know that. You get Arsene Wenger's first 2 years, loads of them people know. Some of them were world-class players. And for George Graham to come in and beat the dominant Liverpool, who, if you're a decent player, you went to Liverpool or Man United. No decent players ever came to Arsenal. Charlie Nicholas was a decent player and everybody wanted him, but I think he only came to Arsenal because he wanted to live in London, and he didn't really live up to expectations apart from that League Cup final game. So what George did was magical, and I get that same feeling in my gut now with Arteta that I did with George Graham. And I loved Arsene Wenger the first decade, magnificent, should have retired after 10 years. But the similarities that we have with bringing the youth players through, having a connection, because when Wenger came in, it was like, let's go and get all these French players. He brought loads of players all over the world, was young players from everywhere, and most of them ended up being a failure. But Arteta and George Graham are doing it the right way. So you have a bond, you have a connection with the players and with the manager. And plus Arteta, like George Graham, was a midfielder who went around kicking people and won stuff with Arsenal. So the number of similarities, the only thing missing is playing in that bloody stadium. We should be back at Highbury. I'm going to buy it and we're going home.
It's interesting, isn't it? Because it's a really tough one, Dan, because obviously it is George Graham for me. But the first 10 years of Wenger were outstanding.
It was spoiled.
It was unbelievable. It was like football porn, what we were watching. And he did say to us, Wenger did say to us, appreciate what you've got. You don't see this all the time and it's not going to last forever. But we were basking in the fantastic of Henry and everybody else. But so Melvin, for you, is it Wenger, is it Graham, or is it someone else?
No, I've got to agree with you. It's got to be Graham for me, because he very similarly like Arteta, he inherited a very poorly run club and a poorly run first team, and he had to do surgery on it. He basically got rid of all the stars, George Graham, and got his team. And same like Arteta's, now it's his team. And the way he got them was very clever. I mean, I've been lucky to be in his company quite a few times. And he told me once, not me, but other people around, that what he used to do, he used to get newspapers from up north and around the country sent down to him, the local newspapers. And he used to read on a Monday morning all the local scores and what the local reporter wrote about the players of these teams. Because it wasn't no internet then.
Sorry, who got the papers sent to them?
George Graham got them sent down. He got them sent in every Monday. He used to go through all the sports pages of all the local, like the Stoke City, obviously, papers, go through and see what the sports writers think about each player, how they played. Because it didn't always get out. And he just in his mind had these players. And when all of a sudden he became Arsenal manager, then he knew who he had to look for. He did the scouting and he got his first 8 signings were unbelievable. You know, what you think about with the Dixons and the Winterburns and the Bolds and people like that were really ridiculous. Alan Smith. I mean, we didn't know too much about Alan Smith, really. You think he was a decent forward, but we didn't realise what he was until he came to us. He was one of a type, Ian Smith. He was perfect. He was the perfect centre forward. He, not just his goal scoring, but the way he held up the ball, the way there's so many of these players. He did, but then again, he did a mini Wenger. He also went off the boil. Not long after, not as long as Wenger did, but he also, like everyone does, went a little bit off the ball. And some of the signings you went, not too sure. I mean, there was I think right at the end of his tenure at Arsenal, he had a couple of, I call panic buys. Kawambi, do you remember him?
Yeah.
Chris never an Arsenal player.
Eddie McGoldrick.
Never.
Eddie.
McGoldrick, never an Arsenal player.
What about Francis
Jimmy Carter,
Jeffers?
never an Arsenal player.
Francis Jeffers, Melv.
That was Wenger.
Oh yeah, and see, this is what I mean. It blurs into years and years of watching this club. I mean, it's got to be 45 years for me, so it blurs into one. Yes, it was.
We would
But
never be.
all managers make duff signings. They
Yeah, of
do,
course
and
they
all
do.
managers
Yeah,
make
of course
great
they do.
signings.
Of course. But with George Graham, had there not been George Graham, there would never have been Arsene Wenger.
Yep.
Oh God, yeah, of course. And again, David Dean was involved in all of that from start to finish. But
Not so much with George Graham, he wasn't. Not so much with George
what,
Graham.
Dean? Oh, I thought he
He
was.
was no. He was around, but he wasn't the decision maker at that time. Put it that way.
Well, Tracy thinks you've got great insight, Melvin. We love Tracy.
When
Do you know
I
what?
wish I had great sight. That's the problem.
When
Tracy,
George Graham took over, we had the England left back, Kenny Sampson, the England right back, Viv Anderson, Scotland's #1 joint striker, Charlie Nicholas. You had young prospects like Stuart Robson, who should have gone on to have a magnificent career at Arsenal.
Bad injury.
Yeah. And then you had those stars, and he had to get those out.
And Tony Woodcock was there in the team then.
Yeah, sent him back to
Paul Mariner.
Paul Mariner, yeah.
Sent him back to Cologne. But yeah,
all internationals, he got rid of them all.
And he said, and he went, right, let's have a look at the youths and the reserves and see what we got. Go and pick out the boys from the Overland combination and go, oh yeah, these young players born and bred in London that have a connection to the area, connection to the club, much like Smith Rowe and Saka and Eddie and all that lot now, and Reece Nelson. I went, you lot, come and prove yourselves. I'm giving you the opportunity. Right. And they grabbed it, and I think they did quite well, Amanda.
Yeah.
Well, I think, I've discussed this before, but I see Wenger and Graham in Arteta, if I'm honest. I see the best of the both of them in him. And I've always been biased about Arteta from day one. But I do feel like Melvin, like you said, he cleared out what we needed clearing out. He's now brought in what we need. And obviously it'd be very remiss of me not to wish Jesus better and recover within about a week, let alone 2 to 3 months or whatever it's going to be. And I'm devastated. And, we knew something was going to happen during the World Cup, just devastated it's for Jesus. But, I believe that he has got both of them in him. I really do. I think, and also I feel it's so hard at the moment because we are still top of the tree. We're going to be top of the tree at Christmas. We're still going to be top of the tree Boxing Night, whether we win, lose or draw. But I think to challenge for the league, which we're going to go into a little bit later on, both George Graham and Arsene Wenger won the league. So I can see both. Anyway, moving on from a little bit more. So I'm going to ask you for your favourite player to ever play for Arsenal and your worst player. Melvin? Favourite and your worst.
Again, it is so difficult. Favourite. I was so lucky to watch so many great Arsenal players, and also growing up, to start with, it was the Joe Bakers of this world. When I got a bit older, then it was the Liam Brady's of this world. I just, what a fabulous player! Get into any Arsenal team at any era. But I'm sticking with one player. One player I've got to go with. It's Vieira. For me, he was the ultimate midfield player, and also he was, and it's thrown around, everyone who plays international football is called this, he was world class. And you can't say that. Everyone else is called world class if they they play in the Premier. No, he was no doubt world class, and he put us, like Bergkamp did as well, and they're in the same teams, they got together, but like Bergkamp did, he put us up to a level. Vieira came and he pushed us on to another level again. And for me, this just, what a player. I remember him coming on against Sheffield Wednesday as a sub, I think. I think the first ball that he was given, it went under his foot and went out for a throw on. And you still knew there's something about that kid. He's special. I heard of it. One of my friends used to watch the reserve games and saw him play when he first signed. It might have been even before Wenger joined the club, because it was a few months before Wenger joined. And he said, we've got someone here. I said, yeah, no, he says, we've got someone here. Mark my words. And so for me, now the worst one. Now then, I don't like doing that. I'm not going to say I'm going to change it a bit. Not worse. The one that aggravated me the most. There's been a few of those around, but I'm going to go for Kolasinac, because I reckon when he first came, he looked
Oh,
okay.
wow.
Listen, he looked
Okay.
okay. But I think what happened was he must have gone in for a service and they took away his go forward gears because all he could do was go back. And that's so aggravating me. He should have actually, when he kicked off playing for the Arsenal, should have faced their goalkeeper because that's what he did the rest of the game. So for me, for aggravation-wise, I don't like having a go at Arsenal players because it's not what I like to do. But if you've asked a question, I'm answering it. For me, he used to drive me mad.
That's fair enough. I'm just going to put a few up from the, I say the crowd, the people in the chat room tonight. Before I come to you, Danny, I was just looking at one and I thought it was quite funny. Our mate. So, Gavs at She-War loved Merson and hated Kleb.
Kleb was terrific.
I loved Kleb. What's he talking about? Danny. So you didn't like him because he looked like a snide. Do me a favour. I thought Kleb was a good player, but Danny, I'm just going to put one more up. Oh, yeah. See, I get this. Ian Wright's my favourite. My least was Pascal Sagan. Yeah, so those are the ones that I was expecting, actually. Nobby Clark says, sorry, hold on, I pressed the wrong thing, sorry. Nobby Clark said, worst was Peter Marinello, best Charlie George. Nobby, you're going to have to join us the week after next when my dad's on because he'll be talking about all these players. Worst for me, Ryan. Worst for me was Igor Stepanovs. So, Stepanovs, by the way. Dan, best and worst.
The best is Tony Adams all day long. Nothing even comes. I mean, Tony Adams, Dennis Bergkamp, Ian Wright in that order. Thierry Henry and Vieira don't get a look in because they shit on Arsenal and I want to go. Fuck off then. You're dead to me, pair of you.
I don't think you're right about Vieira, Danny. Sorry, mate. I don't think he wanted to go. I think
for 2 years before he left, he was constantly in the papers going, I want to go to Real Madrid.
I heard rumours that he was crying when he found out we were letting him go.
Who?
Anders Limpar cried.
I loved Anders Limpar.
And the player I dislike the most, there's quite a long list. I don't like John Hartson because he's Welsh. I don't like who else was there?
I apologise to all the Welsh people.
I've got PTSD when it comes to Welsh things. And the other one was Mikel Silvestri.
Oh yeah,
couldn't stand him. But my overall player, I hate more than any other Arsenal player is Mesut Ozil. For the money he cost, for the wages that he earned, for the wages that he got in the new deal, and for what he did for our club, and the amount of money that he cost us, and the effort that he put in the last 3 years that he was there, I can't stand him as a person. I can't stand the way that he looks. I can't stand his shitty attitude. You're one of the most skillful players we have ever had at the club. And for the last 3 years, you sat on your ass and did bugger all. And just bringing politics into it and his attitude. And he's fought. He went to Fenerbahce, did the same thing there. He's now gone to another Turkish team and he has done almost the same thing there. So far this season, he's played 10 minutes in one game. And he fell out of the Germany team. He's just a disagreeable human being. I
so
don't
he's
like
a little
him.
bit of a disappointment to you, Danny. I think that we can safely say that Mesut Ozil is not on your Christmas card
First
list.
3 years, what an absolute joy. We all used to wax lyrical about how blessed we are to have a magnificent player like that. And then he went and completely ruined it by being a dickhead.
Okay, so one of Danny's rants at 8:30 on a Thursday night. Love it. All about Mesut Ozil. He's not one of my worst, but I mean, it's hard for me because it would be Ian Wright or Tony Adams. But
your worst?
No, my favourite. My favourite. But I remember the days of John Devine. Do you remember him, Melvin?
Yeah, Irish left back.
I didn't hate him, but he was useless. And it's just like, And actually, this is one person I really do dislike. Lynn Simpson, I agree with you. I really dislike Guendouzi.
Attitude problem, just like Ozil.
Yeah, I think for me, he's worse than Ozil. Every time I see him, it makes me feel, you need a good talking to, young man. You really do.
You've got the same attitude, but not the skill, I'm afraid.
No. Mark wants to know, so what do you think of Ozil, Danny?
He's all right, yeah. Aubameyang is very close to that as well.
Yeah.
But the Aubameyang situation didn't last for 3 seasons of nonsense. It only lasted 6 months and Arteta went, Out you get, son, on your ass.
Yeah. But anyway, moving on. Right. Favourite celebrity fan? Favourite celebrity Arsenal fan? Danny, I'll go with you first.
Are we allowed to pick you?
I'm the least celebrity. Go on.
Or Gav. Gav's a bit of a legend. I
He's
do
a
like.
ledge.
I've got to ring Gav at the weekend. I've had my orders ring up, and
You have?
he'll probably be drunk no matter what time of day I ring him. I like Tom Watt. I think he's a really interesting one. I like the Queen. She was an Arsenal fan. I really liked the Queen. There's a few that I really don't like that are really starting to get on my nerves. That like Thierry Henry thinks he's an Arsenal fan. He's not an Arsenal fan. You wouldn't have gone to Barcelona if you were an Arsenal fan, sunshine. But now tell me some people that are, because I can't really. Oh, Rob Beckett.
Oh, Rob Beckett.
Piers Morgan.
No,
he's
no
not
one
an
likes Piers
Arsenal.
Morgan.
Like Gav will tell you, he's not an Arsenal fan. The way he, after that '94 Cup Winners' Cup final, where he tried to get Arsenal fans to go to prison for something they didn't do and got their season tickets taken off them, the bloke is an absolute nonce.
We will move on from that, Danny. But I don't.
You've interviewed him, haven't you? He's a mate of yours.
No, he's not. But many years ago, yes, and that didn't go down too well. But what I will say is, for me,
Matt Lucas, like your
Matt Lucas. But Mo Gilligan's my favourite. I just love him, and Idris Elba as well. Absolutely love those two as Arsenal fans. Yeah, Idris Elba was massive Arsenal. But what I will say about Piers Morgan is he's all about Piers Morgan, and the fact is that he just is not. He doesn't seem to come across as an Arsenal fan. He is, but he doesn't come across like that because he just wants to interview Ronaldo constantly, and it's boring now. I didn't even watch it. But anyway, moving on. I like Matt Lucas, but as well, and Idris Elba's and Mo Gilligan. But Melvin, have you got any? Tom Watt's a good shout, by the way, Dan. Go on.
Yeah, Tom Watt is terrific. I've spoken to him a couple of times. Love, terrific. I'm going to go something different. Bradley Walsh.
Oh yes, of course. I've met Bradley, and he doesn't live far from where I work, and he's brilliant.
Yeah.
I never even thought of Bradley.
Tell you what I don't like, Alan Davis. What an absolute tool that bloke is. Everyone I know who's met him says he's a dickhead.
Danny's off on one. I listen to the Tuesday Club, and he's ever so funny. But anyway, so we've got Davina McCall's a new Arsenal fan. Bradley Walsh, Lennox Lewis, of course. Michael Watson. Forget about all these people. Oh, very true. Jeremy Beadle loved being in the clock end and asking for a wave. Carl Stark says Matt Lucas.
Oh, no, another one that I can't stand. That tit Lewis Hamilton, another dickhead.
Oh, was he Arsenal? Didn't even know.
When it suits him, he's Arsenal.
Someone's put Rihanna. Anyway, right.
Oh, yeah, I remember Rihanna. She used to go to all the away days in the 70s. She was hardcore. She'd get a few pints of Stella down her. She was a nightmare.
Oh my God. And Reverend Richard Coles.
Oh, he's lovely.
Yeah, that's lovely.
That's nice.
Right, okay, you two. God knows what's going to come out your mouths now. What do you love and not love about Arsenal, the Arsenal? Melvin, I'm just going to go with you first, so Dan can calm down.
Right, what I love the class of the club, and I love our history. But on the other side of the coin, I think it's a disgrace the way they treat the supporters when it comes to the website as a joke. I'm actually, for next year, going to university to try and work it out how you actually get things. So I've been on the website so many times, Amanda, just an ordinary question, and it keeps bringing you back to where you started from. No, all I want to know is how can I buy tickets, or can I do that, or can't I do that? And it's unbelievable. And also with the phones, the people I speak to on the Arsenal over the years have been brilliant. Absolutely. When they finally pick up the phone, and I'm not blaming them, but when the phone gets picked up, they cannot be more helpful. But the other day, I don't know if I told you, I lost my season tickets. Just lost them on the way to the ground. So I had to phone up on the Monday to get another one. It took me 2.5 hours on hold before someone picked up the phone. And it wasn't a generic number. It was a special number, or I was filtered to one special thing to get new tickets. Not a ticket for the game where I can understand everyone probably trying to get tickets for a game. It was a special thing to get things like it was a type of filter with 2 or 3 things, and one of the things was to get a season ticket, a problem with the season ticket. 2.5 hours.
Oh my
Now,
life.
I was not going to put that phone down because I wanted to go to the next game. But I'm sure other people have had problems, and it just drives you mad. They've got to sort out the website.
Have you ever why don't you write to them and tell them? Email them.
Yeah, I don't think. With all due respect, I don't think they'd be that interested. I'm sure other people who are more literate than me would have done that, and obviously nothing's changed.
Funny you should say that about the website. I tried to put my ticket on Ticket Exchange. It is not easy to understand.
Thank you.
And I mean, I'm not stupid. I mean, I'm a little bit IT, not too much, but honestly, it was only the woman sitting next to me at Arsenal told me what button to press or some colour that I worked it out, because I couldn't do it the first time, because I want to put my tickets on Ticket Exchange so people can go that don't get a bloody chance to go. But anyway, I don't like the website either. Danny, try and keep it clean. What do you love about the Arsenal and what do you not?
I love our history. I love the fact that it doesn't matter who you are, what you look like, where you come from, you are immediately accepted into the Arsenal fan base, and all that stuff. I love Highbury. I love the statues. I love the players. I love the kits. Most of the kits. I love the fact they've got an underground car park, which is nice, but I've never been able to get in there because I can't turn up 8 hours before the game to get in there. I used to love where I sat at Highbury. Wonderful, right next to the pitch. But things I don't like, if people want a little plug here for Gav, go to Instagram if you've got it, and go and find She-Walk. Gav does these musing things many days a week, and he's just done one about the ticket situation and the paying for the game, these friendly games. It's interesting what he has to say there, considering he's not a man of words. He does quite a good job with that. Things I don't like, I'll just keep it personal for me. I don't like the fact that I can't just go and buy a ticket. I have to join something called the Purple Membership Scheme, which is about 50 quid a seat. If I want to go to one game, I have to join the Purple Membership Scheme, pay 50 quid for that, and then try and get a ticket. That is an absolute pain in the arse. And the amount of hassle, I have to go and get a letter saying of my medical condition. I have to get another letter saying that I'm allowed the benefits, because they can check whether you need the wheelchair tickets by proving that you get disability living allowance and things like that. It's a whole load of nonsense. Don't they just go, oh yeah, you got your first season ticket in 1988. We know who you are. Here you go. And you immediately have to get tickets. But it just seems another way that they can make my life harder, trying to get the tickets and extra little bit of money. The club is owned by a multi-billionaire. My 39, 49, 59 quid or whatever it is, it's completely unnecessary. You don't need to do it. And also, with the lowest level of where you sit at the Arsenal for the wheelchair fans is an absolute disgrace. People stand up, you can't see a thing. But then balance that out with the fact that if a season ticket for where I want to sit is £1,000, I get it for 500 quid and my helper gets in for nothing. So it does kind of balance itself out, but it's more the irritant factor of me trying to get tickets.
Can I just add something to that, Danny and Amanda? I think it's a disgrace. We're both season ticket holders, Amanda, right? If we're going to watch Arsenal play in the League Cup, we've got to buy our own seats. And we've got to pay Ticketmaster an extra
to buy our own seats. It's great.
But
I mean, the thing is, as much as we're all falling back in love with Arsenal again and Arteta and everything that's going on, what they did today to charge us, it just sums some of the mentality of that club up. And, it's like 50 steps forward with everything they're trying to do now, and the atmosphere and everything's great. And like 10 steps back with that. And they pissed me off when they did that, because, we haven't got the Arsenal at the moment. No one's got their clubs. There's no football on today anyway. The World Cup starts again tomorrow. And how nice would it have been if they'd have said, even if you're just a member of Arsenal.com or whatever, just watch it. And the good thing is, and I'm glad people did this, they started tweeting the goals anyway, so you could watch it. So that's how I watch my goals. I'm not giving them 10 quid or 9 quid, whatever it was. Absolutely outrageous. And I agree with you on so many things. And Danny, I've seen what Gav is trying to do with She War. I've been reading it the last few days, and it's so interesting that someone needs to really speak to the club, because the problem now, Dan, is we're playing so well, they're like gold dust. We can't get tickets for love nor money. And who are getting the tickets are the touts and stuff like that. And that's not on. But what I would say is, I don't know the answer, because the games are full now. Very rarely do we see hundreds and hundreds of seats empty. We're doing well, and that's the problem. I don't know. Will it ever change? It's all about money anyway. But anyway,
too corporate now, Amanda. It's a corporate business.
It's been corporate for many years, since the 90s.
But they can still be corporate and still have someone that's got common sense to speak. Can speak to the public and go, do you really think the public will accept this? Do you think it's the right thing to do? Has no one in that club got a bit of common sense to think, hold on a minute, we're talking about raising and getting another 100 or 25 grand today. Is it really worth it to drag our supporters through this? Where's the goodwill? I mean, whether Arsenal pay 50 million for a player or 48 million for a player is neither here nor there. No, so what they messing around for?
I know, and also it's absolutely, I forgot even more so, it's a bloody friendly they're expecting us to play for, because over and over and over again, your podcast, Mel, charging to watch a kickabout with the kids on the website is a disgrace. Absolutely. Couldn't agree with you more, and I rarely agree with you. But anyway.
It wouldn't cost much for Arsenal to employ 4 people who speak English, based in England, based in the UK,
I'll do it.
On a part-time basis. Say you get paid 10 grand a year, 4 or 5 people, and when you want to do your ticket exchange, you ring up them, and it is all done in-house by the club, and make it illegal for the tickets. Like some pop stars have done it and said, if the tickets are bought on Ticketmaster, they are invalid. Every single ticket is only going to be available, and if you want to put your ticket to us, we will not charge you a penny for it, and you will get any money that we sell your ticket for that one game. That is easy to do. You could get someone like Gav involved. I mean, Gav has some people who don't know Gav are a little bit harsh to him. He has a bit of a reputation, bit chopsy, bit strutterish. But his heart is in the right place for sorting these things out. And you need someone like Gav to be able to go in there, because he has such a reach and he knows so many people.
Yeah.
And he does so much stuff where just get involved and say, like, Gav, how would you sort this out? But they're never going to. Because the people there, isn't it like we've got a Spurs fan running the Arsenal social media or something?
Oh, I don't know.
Who you got on, Amanda? Who you said you got on next time on this?
So Tom Canton's coming on the Gooner
No,
Talk.
someone else you mentioned.
Oh, the AST. Yes, I can definitely bring that up with them. Yeah. We've got Akil coming on and Tim Payton. And they do try. But they do. But see, I'm a member of the AST. They do really try to do things, I have to say. And I, generally just before COVID, I was going to a meeting every month, and they're for the fans, absolutely for the fans. And they're going to be. So next week they're on next Wednesday night, and Tim's actually just coming back from Qatar now, so he'll have lots of memory, lots of information to tell us about how it was out there. Anyway, moving on, because I want to get through the questions with you all. Who is your unsung hero, Melvin?
Right, Flamini for me, Matthew Flamini.
Okay, go on.
He was a midfielder that no one really fancied, if you like. He wasn't the best midfielder we had, but they didn't realise what a good job he did. And also, the season that we got to the Champions League final, he played every match at left back. He's right-footed, played at left back, which is not his position and not his correct foot to be playing on. And he never let us down. He played terrific. And when it came to the final, he got dropped. Didn't complain, got on with it. I think he, to me, was an unsung hero for the Arsenal.
Dan, mine was Gilberto, which is what Mark was saying, but who's yours?
Oh, Ray Parlour.
Oh, okay.
That bloke, you look at what he did for Arsenal and changed his career halfway through, went from being a wide midfielder to coming into central midfield and being a nutcase. Hat-trick against Werder Bremen in the UEFA Cup. If you had to list the greatest Arsenal players in Premier League history, Ray Parlour would be so far down that list because most people will forget about him. I mean, to see him now and you go, it's some bloke who drinks too much, but as the body of a god because he works it out and he has a laugh. He's a good talker. He's a nice bloke. Yeah. So I mean, also not just because they're also ginger, but Perry Groves, very underrated in the George Graham days of how much he came on, or like with Flamini, the number of positions that he would come on and play in. Spent most of his time coming on as a sub. And when we sold him, he went to Southampton. He is such a nice bloke. I think he had a 3-year contract with Southampton. After about 8 months, he went, my career's over, just let me go, rather than staying there doing an Ozil and demanding all of his wages. So many players like that. I mean, I don't suppose you could say Limpar, could you? Brian Marwood, another magnificent one. I met him.
Didn't play for us long enough, though, did he?
I love Brian Marwood.
He was great for one season.
Yeah, for the time that he came in from Sheffield Wednesday to the time he left and went to Sheffield United. And he had one sub for 1 minute for England against Saudi Arabia. I like players like that who have come in, done a job quietly, got on with it, much like you'd said with Flamini. And so that would be mine. There's so many of them, but I'm going to go Ray Parlour. Lovely,
Danny, I've bumped into Ray Parlour. My son was playing in like a charity tournament, and I was walking along with him around the pitches. And Ray Parlour, I was on crutches having a hip done, and Ray Parlour said, "Are you playing this afternoon?" Taking the mickey, and we started talking. And it was like he knew me. It was like amazing.
He's one of us.
Really nice. Exactly. He was what you see. Sometimes you see someone on the television, all happy-go-lucky. You see them out, and they're not the same. He was a genuinely friendly guy, and we were speaking for about 5-10 minutes. He was talking about his knee. He was just finished playing his career, and he showed us the hole in his knee. He had a horrible hole in his knee for all the operations he had. But what a lovely guy. I mean, really lovely guy.
I remember meeting Ray Parlour at a charity breakfast in Chigwell. It was for a charity. It was an early breakfast just before work, and the whole place was obviously filled mainly with men. And then he did a little Q&A. So it wasn't an Arsenal thing, but there was a lot of people into football there. And actually, I was with Russ, funny enough, Melvin, who was...
I might have been with Barry that day. Barry had a table. I think I was with Barry that day.
Oh, well, maybe you were with us, because was the table I was on. And was you there with Ray Parlour then? Do you remember what I was going to say?
Yeah, I remember. I don't remember what you said, but I was there when Ray Parlour was there.
So he was talking away, and I just put my hands up, and he said, "Oh, you," and I went, "It's only Ray Parlour." Well, people in the room didn't really generally knew what I was talking about, but if you was an Arsenal fan, you did. He sort of looked at me, and we had a bit of a laugh. And then later on, I went up to him and I said, "I was behind that goal when you scored." And Tim went, "It's only Ray Parlour. It's the best thing ever." And we had a nice picture done together. And he was exactly as you're saying. Ray Parlour is no different to how you see him on social media, how you think about him for years. He is Arsenal through and through. He's a funny man and really good company. You'd really want to, have a whole evening with Ray Parlour, because imagine the stories and stuff. But anyway, right.
And how he managed to hold down an Arsenal career and do that gardening programme with Alan Titchmarsh. I will never know how he managed it. Some really good replies. Some really good replies in the chat there. And I'm
going to bring them up actually, because I've just
Richard's
seen
one is a really good shout. Kevin
Richardson, Steve Williams, brilliant. Oh, a Sharvin. I really liked a Sharvin. Big Per Mertesacker, true, actually.
Super Kevin Campbell.
Yep, Kevin, but I don't think he was unsung, if I'm honest. I don't think
people realise. They all think it was Ian Wright back there. You look at the number of goals and games that Kevin Campbell played with Ian Wright. They were a formidable partnership. It was should never have gone.
But Perez, I'm sorry, was not unsung.
No, of course
he was not unsung.
What cup winner?
Boyce 88. How dare you write that? It just wasn't. But yeah, Jim, Kevin Richardson, there's a lot over the years that you forget that actually were unsung. He definitely was in the 89 season.
Party of the George Graham early era.
Yeah, no,
nearly won the title with three top flight clubs, finished runners up with Aston Villa, won it with Arsenal and Everton. And we got him from Watford for bugger all.
This is why I love Danny on the show, Melvin. I don't have to do anything. He just literally comes out with all these stats that, it's hilarious.
His
Actually,
greatest game for us, Danny, was away
Right.
to Liverpool, 89, in my opinion.
yeah.
Say that again.
His best performance for us, Richardson, was 89 away against Liverpool when we won the league.
He
was
was
outstanding that game.
all over.
Outstanding.
He was everywhere. You couldn't get past him. And again, another player that should have had caps for England that never did, like Steve Bold, another one who didn't get enough caps for England and got some Bs, but yeah.
Right. What about David Platt? I quite like David, actually. I think he did a good job for us.
Not for me. Not for me.
Don't like him as a person.
Not for me.
Okay.
I think we didn't get him at the top, did we, Amanda? We got him on the way down.
Oh, I got a funny story about David Platt. Oh, it's just too funny, but I'll go into it another time. Right. Now, both of you, I've asked you for your best goalkeeper, best defender, best midfielder, and best forward. How we're going to do it? You're going to do your goalkeepers each, then defender, and so forth. So, Dan, goalkeeper.
Seaman.
Melvin.
Seaman.
Defender, Dan.
Adams.
It's got to be in it, Adams.
Okay.
I want to go a little bit different. I would say Adams, but I want to be different to you then.
No. I'll tell you what, there's a funny reason because so far
Adams. It's got to be Adams. It's got to be
your
Adams.
two are my two. Midfielder, Dan.
Vieira.
Obviously.
So was mine. Right, I think this is where it's going to change. Your forward, Dan.
Oh, as much as I hate to say it, Henri. On the pitch, no problem with him. Off the pitch, dickhead.
You've got loads of problems. Melvin.
Tough one again. Bergkamp.
Yeah.
Okay, so we all differ because mine's right. But the three have always been Seaman, Adams, and Vieira for me. And it is for many people, as you can see, look down here. So see, me and two extreme RKO have got exactly the same. Okay, we're going to do a little quick fire round, and then we're going to just talk a little bit about the World Cup and then our team. Right. I don't even know how to do this with both of you, but I'm just going to do it. So, Dan, Bergkamp or Henri?
Oh, it has to be Henri.
Melvin?
Bergkamp.
Perez or Overmars? Dan?
Perez.
Definitely. He's with us longer. And he walked away from us over Miles Day and he let that one go.
Oh, he's on the shit list. Don't you worry about that.
Anyway, this is a quick fire round.
Oh, sorry.
Shush. Saka Martinelli, Dan.
Oh, Saka, because he's one of our own. And Martinelli will go in a few years.
Oh my God,
Saka.
shush. Honestly, you two. Right, Saka, right.
Yeah.
Highbury or Emirates, Dan?
How dare you ask me? I'm not really answering to that. Disgusting question.
Go on, Melvin.
With me, if you watch the show, we've got to be Highbury, isn't it?
It'll be Highbury. Look, we've got all these people. I'll put some things up in a minute. Saka. I can't. Yeah, it is hard.
You multitasking. It's a thing of
know.
joy.
Get
I hope
me.
you're doing the washing up with your feet at the same time.
Behave. Right, Dan. England to win the World Cup or Arsenal to win the Champions League?
Don't give a fuck about England. I don't really care about the Champions League either. I'd rather win the Premier League than the Champions League.
Okay, that wasn't the answer. But England to win the World Cup or Arsenal to win the Champions League? Champions League for you. Melvin?
Of course, Champions League every day.
Okay. Dan, Graham or Wenger?
Graham.
Right, that's our quick fire round that didn't actually go very quick fire because we still had people throwing stats around and their opinions, but we got there in the end. Let's just talk about a little bit of the World Cup and then we'll go on to Arteta and so forth. Your thoughts on it at the moment, Dan? Are you enjoying any part of it? Have you watched any part of it? I know at the beginning you actually said to me, I'm not coming on your show if you talk about the World Cup. Do you remember that? And I said, no, it's not about the World Cup.
I said, I hope it's not a World Cup thing. You went, look, read it properly, you twat. It doesn't. It says Arsenal, you moron.
I did not say that.
Yeah,
I just said,
good
read
as
it properly
that.
with a smiley face.
Yes, it's. I usually watch the World Cups, but this one is tainted for me in so many ways. I won't going to go into it. You can all guess what it is. And I've not watched the whole game. The most game I've watched is the Portugal-Switzerland one. because once you get to this stage, it's more important. The group stages are pointless. You've got a load of cannon fodder in there being pointless games, just annoying. But I will watch all of the games from now on, apart from the third place game, because I don't care about it. But my thoughts on the World Cup, it's been all right. It's going smoothly, which is better can be said than some of the previous World Cups. But it's been quite boring at times. England are extremely boring. I don't like Southgate. But it's something to do, isn't it? If there was Premier League on, I'd be watching the Premier League games, not the World Cup.
Right, Mel. In a just a short sentence, enjoying it or
I
not?
haven't been watching a lot of it. I've only watched one game all the way through, and that was England the other night because I was around my son-in-law's and he had it on, so it would have been rude not to. But I'm not interested, to be honest with you. What's good to hear the results. I've seen 5 or 10 minutes of certain games. The last 5 minutes, if I hear it's like 2-2 or something's happening, I might switch it on the last 5 minutes. It's good that the results are not like there's been a few big teams knocked out. I'm happy about that. But I actually said at first I'm not going to watch any games. I've no interest for various reasons. And I've just turned on the telly, and that happens to be on. I haven't actually once gone and purposely turned on the telly. Only if someone has told me, quick, turn it on now because something's happening and all whatever. I actually don't even know when games are on, people tell me. I phone someone up and goes, can you phone me up now? Why? Well, such and such game's on. Is it? Oh, right. Thank you. So,
yeah,
no.
I think look, I said my reasons at the beginning. I didn't say I wouldn't watch it, but I'm not obsessed. Like when the World Cup was on years ago and I was at work, I'd have it on my phone and I'd be watching all the games, but I just watch them when they're on. And if it doesn't suit me, I don't watch it. I mean, I'm enjoying watching Brazil because it was nice to see Martinelli, and Switzerland with Granit and Partey. It's weird when your players are playing because you just want them to be okay. And Saka is doing so well for England; it's unbelievable. Even the Tottenham fella in my office had to say how well he was playing, which nearly killed him. But and it's a weird one. The weird thing is the timings of it all, and it just feels odd. It doesn't feel right, does it? Nothing feels right about it. We're freezing cold and we're watching the World Cup. It is just bizarre. But saying that, I think England are going to beat France. I said it last week. Asked Carl at 2-0 up. I said we're going to beat France. It doesn't matter about Mbappe or anything. We're going to beat France. And I actually think we're going to end up in the World Cup final. The one World Cup final we don't want to end up in, we're going to end up in, which is bizarre. But I'm not saying we're going to win it, but I do feel we're going to end up in it. And I think, if I'm honest, I think there's going to be a team that wins this. I've said this for ages, that we're not expecting. I really believe that. But anyway, what's all your thoughts on the World Cup, people out there? Are you watching it? Are you enjoying it? I think there are times, Dan, where it is quite boring. I have to be honest. I don't seem to watch the thrilling games. They're the ones that I'm working or stuff like that. Like, for instance, I really would have liked to have watched Brazil, but it's 3:00 tomorrow afternoon. I've got work. And this is the other thing. So anyway, is what it is.
Can I ask you a question, you two? Do you think if England win the World Cup, do you think Southgate will manage to smile?
No.
I don't
He'll
either.
come out with some politically correct statement.
Yeah, of course he would.
Meaningless.
I think it would be incredible for the country if we win the World Cup, and it would be wonderful. But it's a weird one. It's the middle of December, and we could win a World Cup. Anyway, good luck to England on Saturday night. Good luck to our Saka. That's all I'm going to say. And I hope our thoughts go out to Ben White. Whatever's happened, hopefully he's okay.
Knows.
No.
I know people who know people, and they don't know.
No. Anyway, Cole Stark seems to think Amanda, England are not beating France. Well, we'll have to wait and see. I know, no one really agrees with me, but I've said it since last week. Right. So we come back on Boxing Night, 8:00 at night.
Oh, great.
The Emirates is going to be rocking. My mother's upset that I'm leaving to go for football, but hey ho. And it's an interesting one because we just don't know. Dan, do you think we're going to come back how we finished? Do you think the momentum will still be there? Yes,
because we saw with the COVID break that Arteta is very good at managing the team, and managing the players and managing the times and getting everything okay. I have absolutely no problems with that. The only team that are going to fight us for the title this season is Man City, and they have got double the amount of players still at the World Cup than we do. Some of their stars, I mean, some of them are playing for England. So I think they're in a worse case scenario than we are. And people making a big deal about Jesus being out. It's not like I said on my show last night. It's not like peak Van Persie, peak Ian Wright, peak Thierry Henry when they were out, that no one else is going to score goals. Jesus isn't a goal scorer. That's not his job at Arsenal. Anybody of those front three of Martinelli, Smith Rowe and Saka can go and do the Jesus job, not with the experience that he's got and maybe not with the confidence that he's got, and wouldn't make it look as easy. But when you have got a front three of those three young men and all three of them can play in all three positions, we don't play with a goal scorer. We have had, 15 different goal scorers this season. Martinelli will step right in there. And then even Reece Nelson has shown that he can slip in. And so I'm not worried about it at all. We'll come back. Well, but if you put a gun to my head, I couldn't tell you how many points we've got, how many goals we've scored, or what the results were. The only result this season I remember is Man United beat us 3-1. I was laying in bed the other night thinking, I've got no idea what the points in the table look like. Isn't that terrible?
I think it's 35.
No.
I'm not looking at anything. No, I'm wrong.
No.
I think we've won 12, drawn 1 and lost 1. I think that's what I remember.
37 points.
Oh, we got 37 points.
We've got 5 points, 2 against Southampton, 3 against United.
And we're interesting because Cole's just put this: if it were Partey, I'd be worried we'll cope without Jesus. Yeah. But someone else put that about Partey, and I sort of agree. But I sort of disagree with you, Dan. I think Jesus is absolutely vital to the way we play. No. And I am really worried about how we're going to cope with that. Yes, having Partey out, touch woods, would have been far worse. I agree. But I'm going to miss him. Melvin?
You'll see it'll be fine. Don't you worry.
I don't think it. I agree. I don't with Danny. I don't think it's going to not great, but it's not to be so bad because we've got such a fluid football team now.
Yeah.
Where not everything comes from Jesus. He's a great player, but not everything has come from him. We've scored goals out in touching the ball. We're not relying on him on every goal we score. Yes, he's a very big player for us, but we can get on without him. I'd love him in the team every week. Of course I would. But he might put us down 5%, and that 5%. We can live with, because you remember we've got Smith Rowe coming back, and it put us up 3%. So I don't think it's that big a deal.
This is experience that we will lose out on. His big game mentality, which he's used to. But Saka, big game mentality, he's growing it by the day.
Yeah.
So.
And also we're going to have ESR back, hopefully. So that's a definite bonus. Sorry, I just have to go back to the World Cup because I'm asking all my guests who they think is going to win it, and I've got it written down. So who do you think, Dan, will win it?
Brazil, Portugal final.
Okay. Melvin?
Can't see past Brazil. I said it the other day. I know they got knocked out, but I still fancy Germany to get to the final.
Okay. Where will we finish, Dan? I want a prediction from you now. Where will we finish in May?
Second.
Okay. Melvin?
Third.
I'd take second now. I really would.
Yeah.
But then come April, we might be 6-7 points clear. Who knows? But you're all going to be coming back on end of season. We'll have an end of season party with everybody on. Guys, it's been absolutely incredible tonight. I've really loved it. Really enjoyed it. Dan, I always love having you on. I could have you on every week, to be honest.
Thank you very much.
Just sitting there with your little stats and telling me everything. Who do we play in 1981 on a Tuesday night, December the 5th?
I have to look up.
But you'd know it in seconds.
11 versus V11.com is where I get all that from. Magnificent site.
Oh, wow. Brilliant. Okay. Both of you, brilliant. Really enjoyed it. Thank you. And to everyone in the chat room, I so appreciate you coming to watch. All the people that listen on audio, I really appreciate it. I don't know if you listen on audio because I don't see any comments. So thank you so much. I really, really appreciate it. Craig, hopefully, will be back to host a pod come the new year. If you could all press like and subscribe, please. Next show up, Sunday night, 8:00, me and Tom Canton. A, he's a mate of mine. B, he's brilliant. And C, his shows are fabulous. And he's a double award winner. I'll have to find that out,
And he's
Dan.
still only 14.
And he's still very young, bless him. So, yes, I see you back here Sunday night, 8 o'clock. Then it'll be Wednesday night with Axe and Tim Payton. Friday night, we've got special guest David Hillier coming back to join me. I haven't spoken to him for ages. So David Hillier's coming on. And then Tuesday week, it'll be my dad and my cousin. And then I'm having a break for a week because then it's Christmas. And then we're going to be back at the Emirates and we are going to be going mental on Boxing Night. Thank you all. Really appreciate it. Dan, where can everybody find you and your podcast?
I will be going through the bins at the back of Gav from She-War's house looking for leftover bits of chicken. That's the best place to find me.
Oh, my God. And I know where those bins are. Melvin?
I'm on the Over and Over and Over Again podcast. I'm a guest on that, but I do a show and I'm normally on every other Wednesday about all things hybrid. It's called Hybrid Matters.
Yeah.
Do you watch it, yeah?
And
I've watched some of them.
They're very good. They're very good. Especially the one with my dad on was lovely. It was lovely watching that. Nothing to do with me, and I was just watching. It was great. Go and follow these two. Most people know Danny, I would think, but go and follow Melvin in his podcast because it's great. And for the younger ones that want to learn a bit about the Arsenal from years ago, Arsenal didn't become Arsenal under Wenger. Remember that, everybody. So have a good evening. Stay safe in this lovely, lovely warm weather. Enjoy. Come on, England. As much as I'm not that interested in the World Cup, come on, England. Let's bring it home. Good night, everyone. Thank you for joining us. Always Arsenal.